When it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle, it can feel lonely sometimes, like you're down in the trenches trying to do all the things. But I want to share with you that it doesn't have to feel that way. I joined the Cowgirls Over Coffee membership in May of 2020, and y'all, it has been such a gift. It has allowed me to connect with women with that Western and rural background that simply get it. They understand what I'm working with. We get to share strategies, encouragement, and hold each other accountable as we're pursuing goals in all of these different areas of life. To learn more, visit cowgirlsovercoffee.com or check out episode 45 of the Cowgirl Confessions podcast that features the founder of Cowgirls Over Coffee, Thea Larson. I hope to see you there. Hey y'all, and welcome. You're listening to the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Dawn Johnson, small-town cowgirl with Southern roots, blazing a trail as a Midwest ranch wife, mama, and businesswoman. The mission of Cowgirl Confessions is to share the wonderfully wild and Western life stories of cowgirls from all walks of life. We'll talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle. Legendary cowgirl Dale Evans said it best. Cowgirl is a pioneer spirit, a special brand of American courage. The cowgirl faces life head on, lives by her own lights, and makes no excuses. Cowgirls take stands. They speak up. They defend the things they hold dear. A cowgirl might be a rancher, a barrel racer, a bull rider, or an actress. But she's just as likely to be a checker at the local Winn-Dixie, a full-time mother, a banker, an attorney, or an astronaut. If you're into wet saddle blankets, talks with God, buckets full of laughter, and the life lessons learned in the process, kick off your boots and settle in. I pray these stories encourage, empower, and give you just the leg up you need. Here's to embracing the cowgirl state of mind, no matter how wild and Western life may get along the way.
To the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world. Dr. Seuss. We never really know the difference we can make in another person's life by simply pausing long enough to listen. And we also never know how we might be spurred to action once we recognize there's a need to be met. And on this episode, I visit with Stephanie Smith, who I lovingly call my Aunt Steph. Stephanie is a wife, mom of triplets, career woman, and animal lover that calls Montgomery, Alabama home. She is also one of my dearest friends and greatest cheerleaders. We unpack on this episode how one decision my mom Pam made many years ago led to a beautiful friendship that has richly blessed our entire family. It's a story that began due to hardship, though, and there have been many life lessons learned along the way. While we never wish hardship on those we love, if it hadn't been for that hardship early on in my Aunt Steph's life, the story shared on this episode today wouldn't exist. The story continues to unfold decades later, filled to the brim with endless amounts of support, love, and kindness. I am forever changed because of it and grateful I get to be a small part of it. My friend, I pray this episode encourages you to slow down, love harder, don't take yourself so serious, be kind, laugh more, give the gift of time to those who matter most, make memories, and share your stories. You'll be glad you did. I promise. Now let's talk to my Aunt Steph.
Aunt Steph, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. For many, many years, I knew Dakota's mama before she was Dakota's mama. Dakota has two brothers, and of course, we don't want to exclude them. But Pam was so many things to me. Dakota's mom, Alice's mom, Austin's mom. But she was a friend. She taught me so many things in life that there's really not enough time to cover all of it. But the main things that Pam taught me was love, kindness, friendship, picked me up when I was down. She threw me down when I was wrong. But the one thing I always knew was that Pam loved me. She took my side no matter what, but she would tell me I was wrong. She got me by herself, and that was a lot. So, those of you who knew the Pam that I knew, she knew a lot about horses. In fact, I'm not sure there wasn't anything she didn't know.
Let's backtrack, Aunt Steph, to how you and my mom, Pam, met, because I feel like that was the beginning of something so incredibly special. Because if that moment had never happened, then we wouldn't be having this podcast potentially right now. You and I wouldn't know each other. We wouldn't be friends. And it's a story of hardship that really turned into so much because of that. So let's start there.
All right. I met your mom. I'm going to say, I can't really put exact ages, but I'm going to say I was 10. Your mom was 17. And I just thought that she was the best cowgirl in the world. She had like 15 horses. I had none. So she let me ride all of her horses and play with them. And Pam worked hard. I think she worked 2 to 3 jobs, but she was young. Um, she would come and feed her horses late at night. My mother struggled with alcoholism, depression, and me being, 10, 11 years old, it really wasn't something I understood. There were many nights when Pam would come to feed her horses, and I was still at the stable. This would be at 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes. Well, she got worried about me, and she'd say, "Well, why don't you just come home with me?" And we'd stop and get us a crystal, or she worked at a chicken place, so she always brought me yellow rice, which till this day I still love. And she never made me feel uncomfortable. She never badmouthed my mother or made my mother feel bad, but she always made sure that I had somewhere to go, and it was usually Pam's house. So we grew up together. Her being 7 years older than I am, it helped me realize the things that I could do, because as far as I was concerned, there was nothing that Pam couldn't do. So um, she finally, after about 2 years of on and off of me staying with her most of the time, of course, she would take me to school. She would pick me up. We would go and we rode horses. She finally did receive custody of me. And my little sister would come and stay with us as well. But I spent from about the time, I'm going to say 11 to 12, till I was almost 19, with Pam. The best days of my life. She gave me a good place to land. I knew she loved me, and she taught me so many things. Like I said, friendship. It was the greatest friendship of my life. And losing her was something I'm thinking that so many of us have struggled with. But I know that she smiles down on us. There's not a day that goes by that I don't remember a lesson from Aunt Pam, as my triplets call her. Um, she did so much for me, and then she continued that on after I had my children. She was there with me every step of the way, and she taught me about love. I love my children. She taught me lessons about animals. She was there when I got animals, and she was there when I lost them. She cried with me when we buried them, and she laughed with me when we'd go and get another one. So she, my children loved her as much as I did.
It just this whole dynamic. And for those of you listening that aren't from the South, I think I should clarify something. When you're like so close as family, but then maybe there's an age gap. Even though Steph, I call her Stephanie, truly would be my foster sister.
she was just always Aunt Steph. That's what we always referred to her as, because as she mentioned, there was that age gap to where it's not like we were ever under the same roof at the same time or anything like that. And so truly, I always just, always knew her as my Aunt Steph. And she was the fun aunt, that, bought me the things I probably, mom would have said no on and all of that. And so, growing up, she was always that one I could call to and be like, hey, I'm really kind of thinking about doing this, but I don't know. What do you think mom would say? And she would already know because she had lived through it, just like an older sister would have. It's been a wonderful dynamic friendship, through my life. And it's changed the way that I think of all the ripple effect that one small act of kindness, one choice, to say yes or help somebody, not even going down completely, the foster path, but even thinking about fostering a child, just the difference that could make. Because now, I still have my Aunt Steph to tell and share all these stories, and she's very involved, and her entire family's involved with my husband and our children. So it's just like this gift that's kept on giving. And it didn't start out as a beautiful thing, though.
Right, right. It didn't. Like I said, my mother struggled with severe anxiety and alcoholism. There were times when, and I loved my mother as well, but Pam saved that relationship for me. She always told me, she's your mother, be kind to her, do what you can. And I did that. And if it had not been for Pam, I may not have had a very good relationship with my mother. She helped my mother a lot. There was a lot that she did for my mom. She talked to her a lot, was encouraging. Um, and she told my mom that she would take care of me and that she loved me. And she did exactly what she said. Pam was not just someone that I could look up to. She was like a second mother to me, and she led me down good paths. Thank goodness for her.
I think it's so neat too, because even though there was that age gap, there came a point whenever you were becoming a mom for the first time, that was the same time frame. So my younger brother Austin is actually the same age as Aunt Steph's triplets. So yeah, Aunt Steph is a triplet mom, and I love hearing you tell the story about when y'all were both, basically walking through that at the same time.
Yes, yes. Austin was actually born on my birthday, so we're birthday buddies. And Pam, there was nothing, like I said, that she couldn't do, but birthing babies. She always looked pretty rough, and I never passed up that opportunity to point that out to her. So I would get the look, no unkind words, but I'd get the Pam look. So I didn't put it on her too bad, but I'd let her know.
Well, with this podcast is dedicated really to like trying to navigate careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle. And you have all four of those things. So let's dive in a little bit to what it was like first being a mom, but some of those moments, like they're going to send us home with all three of these babies at one time, and how you've managed, because you have continued to work outside of the home as the kids grew up. And so let's unpack some of that.
I did. I had a wonderful pregnancy. Everybody came home with me. Um, Probably their father suffered the most. You know, sometimes I worried when he said, I can't remember driving home. So I would get, very concerned about dad. But um, having three children the same age, it does have its challenges. I would talk to Pam. I would get great advice from her. And she said the dishes could go. Not everybody had to go to bed clean, and just keep them safe, fed, healthy, and loved. So that's what I did. And they'll soon be 26 years old. So they're good kids, and it went by fast. That's what I can say. It definitely went by fast.
The Smithlets, as we all have grown up knowing them, and I just think it's so special how, as you mentioned before, that dynamic of them, we were all very much family, but it just made sense that she was Aunt Pam, just like you were Aunt Steph, and having that opportunity to really just be I feel like the whole quote of friends are the family you get to choose for yourself. And I think of that so often when I think about, our relationship.
Absolutely, absolutely. Pam taught me that you don't have to have blood relations, so to speak, to be family. Pam was my family. Her children are my family. And that nothing will ever change that. That's how she made me feel. And I knew I was safe and loved by Pam. And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Qualities about you that I'm like, oh, that reminds me so much of my mom, is you are such a go-getter and a hard worker, and you do not meet a stranger in the midst of that. So let's share with everybody just, what your current role looks like right now and some of the things that really bring you joy in the jobs you're doing.
Well, like Dakota said, I do work two jobs. I work for the state. I work for a grocery store. Um, and I meet a lot of people. I love helping people. And Aunt Pam was that way too. I'm sure there's not a cowgirl or a cowboy out there that didn't know Pam, that did not learn something from her. And I did. But the thing about my life with horses and Aunt Pam is that she never pressured me. She let me learn a lot of the lessons on my own. And I've tried to do that with my children.
We learn by experience. And so often when I've asked you, just when you share stories with me about yourself, or, when you and my mom were doing things, that's the storytelling. Even if you haven't experienced it yourself, it provides so much context and such a great opportunity to learn. And so just like whenever you've shared before that you've met somebody, when you're working your second job at the grocery store, and then how that's blossomed into a friendship, you've been willing to listen and be like, okay, well, this is how I can help, this person in need. And I feel like it's a lost art, honestly, people taking the time to truly listen. And as somebody's coming through, whether it's the line at the grocery store or you're checking out at Subway, like letting somebody feel seen and heard.
Right. Um, there are a lot of people out there that we need to just take a moment to listen to their story. There's a lot of elderly people who need help. If it's just bringing the mail from the end of the road, some of them cannot even get to their mailbox. Take, 5 minutes and bring your neighbor's mail in if they're elderly. There are children that are starved for attention, and I get hugs and kisses and, oh, Miss Stephanie, you're here, and that is very rewarding. And that's something that, again, I learned from Pam. I help people that I can help. I try not to leave anybody, without the tools that they need. So just help people.
Every once in a while, when I meet somebody new, they'll say, Dakota, where are you from? And I love having the opportunity to say, I grew up in a small town in rural Alabama. Now, whether you have small town roots or dream of one day trading in the city life for a little slower pace, or maybe you just enjoy an occasional weekend getaway where you can actually see the stars at night. Whatever your version of living the small town life looks like, my friends at thesmalltownlife.com, they have you covered with comfortable and unique ball caps and graphic tees that the entire family will love. Be sure to go follow them on Instagram and Facebook and use the hashtag #TheSmallTownLife when you're out there doing the small town living.
Well, we were at the Coliseum one day, and Pam really was not somebody that you could embarrass too badly. You just couldn't get one over on her. But I was riding a horse. I think it was a friend of hers' horse, and we were out behind the Coliseum and just laughing and talking. And Pam was standing up close to the stalls next to her truck. Well, I'm really not sure what happened, but before I knew it, there were some bucks in there, some kicks in there, and I was on the ground. And Pam comes running, and as if I wasn't embarrassed enough, Pam said, "Good grief, girl, you have embarrassed me." And I said, "You? What about me?" So it was a good laugh, but I knew that if I'd been hurt, she wouldn't have been giving me a hard time. So
Yeah, she definitely she'd want to dust you off and say, "Okay, are you all right?" And then be like, What was that all about?" And then as far as trying to navigate all the things, Aunt Steph, I find myself in these moments, as a mom and a wife, and trying to work and still make time for the things that bring me joy, like the horses. What what advice do you have for trying to really take care of all of that?
I do think, your home is very important, but I feel like the family within it is the most important. Sometimes, there's not time to wash clothes and dishes and clean the bathrooms, but the love in the household that you bring to your children, to your loved ones, I think that's probably the most important thing. The home will be there. And there's time when you can squeeze in a little dishwashing or a little clothes washing. But Pam and I spent so many hours on horses, either me riding one for her lunging one, exercising it while I was riding it, just trying to teach me different things to do. She was just always there, and I'm so grateful for that.
The stories that you share sometimes, just like when you said, you would, paid to exercise these horses. And so your version of exercising the horse was to hop on one, ride it down Woodley Road to the old Sitco gas station, tie it up, go get you an ice cream, eat your ice cream on the way back to go get another one.
Absolutely. This was a daily adventure for me. And I rode, 4 or 5 horses a day. And up the side of the road, I'd go get my Mickey Mouse ice cream ears, come back. She'd have the next one ready. If she was at home, I'd get on that one, off I'd go. And so it was a lot of fun. She made it fun, though. Now, when I got in trouble, is where the bad stuff came in because I'd have to clean all the stalls by myself. So, which really wasn't too much of a hardship. I was still messing with the horses, and she'd stop in and check on me and bring me something to drink and maybe some crackers, just making sure I was doing what I was supposed to be doing.
Y'all didn't have a long driveway back then. That I remember that was her deal. We'd have to clean stalls and stuff, but she got aggravated with us growing up. She'd say, "Run that driveway." And even my friends that would come over, they knew they didn't want any of us to get in trouble. We'd all be running the driveway because her deal was is if if you're out of air, you're sure not going to be getting into trouble or talking back, So,
This is true. This is true. The place was muddy though, so I think she worked my legs out carrying 25-pound mud boots,
yeah.
trying to wear them and get to the barn. So, and it was a car, you'd see her going down the side of the road in a dress and mud boots. So we knew what to look for. We knew she was on the way. We could hear her clomping down the road.
Oh my goodness. You were talking about the other night about her 270, and I always wondered, I was like, she would talk about having this 270 hair dryer, and once I got older, I knew that just meant 2 windows rolled down going 70 miles an hour and letting your hair dry, as you're going down the road.
Absolutely. She also got a ticket doing that. And yep, the state trooper said he wasn't even gonna try to catch her. He just left the ticket in the mailbox. So and he meant business too, but he probably knew he couldn't catch her anyway. So
yeah, that's my how times have changed, but she did. She always had a lead foot. I never wondered where my brothers got that because they got it honest from her. Aunt Steph, life, as you mentioned, is so, just really revolves around love. So let's talk about Uncle Buddy,
okay.
because he is just so incredibly special. And as we're recording this episode, the friendship that him and my husband Tyler have, I'm just so grateful for that. So let's talk a little bit about how you and Uncle Buddy met.
Well, I actually met Buddy in my mother's kitchen. He worked for a friend of my mother's, and I didn't think he was old enough to drive, so I didn't pay him much attention. So, and my mother said, "I think he wants to go out with you." And I said, "Well, I prefer my dates old enough to drive." I was 18 at the time, and Buddy was 22. So, Of course, he knew my mother, but he knew Aunt Pam very well. Loved her like I did, and she always told me he's a good one. He's a keeper. He's a good one. So I've hung on to him for going on 35 years. So there's been some good days and some bad days, and but mostly good. Um, Pam helped us, with horses with our children, which was the number one thing. And but Uncle Buddy is a good sport. He has to be with, triplets and me for his wife. But we can laugh. There's lots of laughter that goes on around our house. And he always says that there's no way he would ever get married again, that he knows he would never find one as good as I am. Of course, he's always laughing when he says that.
Now that I'm in this phase of my life, Tyler and I have been married almost 6 years, and I feel like it's so important to have those people in your life that can mentor you in really specific ways. And so, just like you don't want to take financial advice from somebody who's broke all the time, I feel like, I don't want to take advice necessarily. You can learn a whole lot from broken relationships and broken homes, and that's what I grew up in. But I've spent a lot of my adult life and married life thinking, okay, these are the things that I know I don't want to do. And then it's equal because that's, I witnessed some of that. And then it's, just as important, if not more so, I feel like, to have different people in your life that you can watch and then hear, their experiences. I mean, like you said, you've been married almost 35 years now, and to be able to go just really glean a lot of wisdom from that. I mean, that, like you said, it's not always easy.
Right. It's not. But I had many talks with Pam, and she'd tell me chin up and, that things would get better. You get what you put into something. That was something that she always made me, consider what you put into it. You'll get a lot more out of it if you put something good into it. She always had a lot of good words of wisdom.
Yeah.
Well, and don't forget those beautiful babies you guys have. And those of you who knew Pam knew that she had the most beautiful eyes around. And I have to say, there's two little guys running around this Kansas home that I see those beautiful blue eyes and those beautiful eyelashes. Now, we all know Pam didn't have a lot of hair, but these babies have got the curliest hair. But I see so much of their grandmother Pam and them. I see it in Dakota. I see it in her boys. She's left a wonderful, wonderful legacy.
And it's really healing in so many ways. I mean, really just such a gift in my life that I have Aunt Steph, because it's like having that friend that knows, to where you don't even have to explain. You don't have to explain what happened in order for them to understand the emotions maybe you're feeling, because they lived it. They know it. They watched you grow up, or they lived through it right alongside of you. And it's been so nice for me to have somebody, another woman, somebody besides my brothers, and really with the I keep saying dynamic, but being able to hear stories about my mama before she was a mama, and just what that, life looked like, because she's not here for me to ask now. And so it's just so special having someone, and it's really helped me over the years through my grief journey. And then it's just been, like I said, such a gift to be able to talk to my Aunt Steph, and her be able to share some of those things that maybe I didn't know. But then also just telling stories, and the gift of storytelling, it can just be so incredibly powerful and healing all at the same time. I love hearing you talk about you have so many ones with the triplets, and just trying to like the first time you went grocery shopping with the three of them.
Yes, I thought I was doing so great. I had gotten out of the house. I got to Walmart, sat down and the bench in the middle of the store and cried my eyes out. People were asking me, was I okay? And I was just boo-hooing. I did pick myself up like I saw Aunt Pam do so many times, and I got the grocery shopping done, but I got home pretty quick.
and then you realized you didn't have the groceries.
Yes, yes. It was raining, so I shoved them in their car seats, put their stroller up in the car, in the truck, and I drove off and left the buggy and my purse sitting in the parking lot. So, needless to say, my purse was gone when I got back, but someone had wheeled my groceries back into the store. Thank goodness. So,
Yeah, navigating all the things it is not for the faint of heart, but you're living proof that, I mean, you've got three grown, beautiful children. Um, and what's it like to be on this side of it now? Because you're a new grandma.
I am. Buddy and I have a granddaughter. Our son, Robert, and daughter-in-law, Kristen, have a beautiful little girl. Her name is Presley, and I call her Presley Sunshine. And she truly has been that for me. Now, raising your children, you've got to walk a stern line, keep everybody out of jail. And but with a grandchild, it's been so different. But it has opened another door, and I'm hoping that our other children, will consider giving us a grandchild. Until then, Presley, she keeps us on our toes, and we love her very much. I can't imagine life without her now. So, and Aunt Pam, she would have put her on a horse, I'm sure by now. If she could cling to anything, the mane or the saddle, she'd have her in the saddle. I have no doubt.
Yeah. Now, Aunt Steph, whenever you said when you and my mom met, she had the horses, and that was really your first interaction kind of around horses coming out of the Fisher farm.
Yes, yes. I was around horses when I was younger, but not really having a whole lot of interaction with them. So I it, I was like the girl with hard knocks trying to learn how to ride a horse. So Pam put me up there, heels down, head up, shoulders back, whether I was in a saddle or not. And she taught me so much, and we had so much fun. I mean, it wasn't always hard stuff. It was fun stuff. We'd ride them in the creek and get soaking wet and just laugh. We really didn't have anywhere to be. And Pam wasn't the richest person in the world, but she was rich with laughter and always had good ideas. I had a good idea, and she kept me busy in school. She was the parent that followed me around with a camera that spit the pictures out, and she'd walk around shaking them, and then she'd put those down, and here she'd come with another one. She pulled the wagon for the floats for high school. I remember when I was in the 10th grade, and she pulled the homecoming float. The basketball team, Pam helped us get all of our money together because a woman was selling this horse for $100. So we all chipped in $10, and Aunt Pam went and got the horse. And I'll never forget it because she walked it up through the lunchroom at our banquet for the teacher. So that was quite a surprise. So, and just laughing and always up for the challenge. She was always up for a challenge.
Oh my goodness. I'm sure that the superintendent was thrilled to have a horse march through the lunchroom.
He was. He was. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
makes sense why she didn't panic when I brought our pony Oreo into our trailer when I was little, like right up the front steps into the living room.
Yeah.
She didn't really bat an eye at that. So
That's it, because that's something she would have done. She would have done it.
oh my goodness. And when you were talking about the Polaroid camera, now I'm gonna date myself for some of you younger listeners, but back, before iPhones and even the little camcorders, I remember she had one of those big ones. She looked like she was working at WSFA Channel 12 News, and she'd be there. I mean, she even had a stand to put it on when her shoulder would get tired, But I mean, we've got VHS tapes of every play. I mean, stuff that basketball games that weren't even mine. I'm like, I mean, what was she? Just the official videographer of South Montgomery County Academy? I don't know, but she enjoyed doing things like that. I know it brought her a lot of joy capturing those moments. Like you said, she wasn't rich financially, but she gave of her time to the things that really mattered to her and brought her joy. And I feel like, and it's something I'm working on every day to get better at, is truly giving of my time to the things that really matter to me. Because she was so keenly aware, and she knew, like, that was one thing that was never out of alignment for her, was the gift of her time, and she knew what she was going to give it to, and she gave it fully.
She did. She absolutely did. There's so many stories. I think one of my favorite ones, though, we lived out Woodley Road and the air conditioning went out. Well, dead Alabama summer. So we got our lawn chairs out, we got our swimsuits on, and we slept under the stars with wet towels over us to keep us cool. Not only Pam could come up with that and make it work, and I could still hear us laughing and talking. And that's how we slept. We stayed cool and had so much fun. Like I said, it was never boring.
No, it wasn't. Then somebody probably thought, what a redneck. And she'd have probably been like, yeah, absolutely, fully.
Well, she did mow the grass in her bikini top and cut off shorts. So she had quite a few people stopping to holler at her and look at her. So
y'all see what I'm talking about? Why these, like, mama before she was mama stories, they're good for my soul. And if you're listening to this and you could be that person for somebody like Aunt Steph is for me, please, I just encourage you, take the time to stop and share a story, because it really could be so meaningful to that person on the other end. I'm recording this kind of selfishly. I have quite a few people on my list of guests for this year that I want to capture this moment. And you don't have to have a podcast in order to do this. Put your phone on, record, sit down and push play. I recently lost my granddad, and one of the best things that I have is I have so many audio recordings from where we sat down at, the kitchen table after dinner or something while we were visiting, and I just push record, and hearing him share stories, just like Steph and I have been able to do here. And I love that, having that. So you don't have to have a podcast to do that. Just use your phone, push record, and, capture those stories that are going to be, they're meaningful now, but they'll mean even more, potentially when that person's not here to share those stories with you anymore. Aunt Steph, what is the wildest thing you've ever had to patch up with hay string, baling wire, or duct tape, or bungee cords? What's something you've had to patch up that way?
The lawnmower. I'm not allowed to touch it because all of those things hold our lawnmower together.
You gotta love some good ingenuity, some patchwork,
Yes,
there.
yes. Aunt Pam had me on a filly of hers, and she was lunging me, and the horse went under a limb. It completely ripped my shirt off. I was sitting in my bra on the side of the road, and she got some hay strings and got my shirt tied back together and put me back on the horse. So she did keep me away from the tree limb. So I'd have to say that's probably one of the best stories of her patching my clothes up and getting them back on me.
Oh my gosh, what you would do on, like, Project Runway these days, putting your shirt together with hay string. That's a good one.
She did.
She did. This has been extremely special for me, and I just want to thank you for the person that you are to me, to my family, to your family, and all your friends. And I just think the world needs more of you in it. I wrap up all the podcast by asking our guests, what does the cowgirl state of mind mean to you?
Well, this is a saying that Pam liked, and I have to completely agree. And I wanted to read it to you, but I want to tell Dakota, thank you for having me on your podcast. I love Dakota and her little boys and her husband and her brothers, and they are all truly, truly treasures to me. I see Pam and all of them, except her son-in-law. There is some stubbornness there that I think might be a little bit of Aunt Pam. This is a saying that Pam liked. Again, those who knew her in this life know that it fits her perfectly. And it said, life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, whoa, what a ride. And that's by Hunter S. Thompson. but that is our Aunt Pam. So we miss her greatly and we love her big.
Thank you for tuning in to today's podcast. There is more in the works, more to come. I just appreciate each and every one of you tuning in, and I pray that you take something away from this and you can take action on it. And it really.
Thank you for spending your time with me on the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm so glad y'all stopped by. If you could take a moment to share this episode and tag us on social media, I'd be happier than a cowgirl in a sea of buy one, get one vintage turquoise. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode. New episodes will be released bi-monthly. Please leave us a review if you feel so led by going to iTunes. Your feedback will really help us breed the idea of grabbing life by the horns with a cowgirl state of mind into women across the globe. Some that may have never even had the privilege to throw their leg over a horse, but could most certainly use the cowgirl state of mind while navigating life. Thanks again, y'all. Until next time, keep pursuing your dreams with that all go and no woe mentality. Remember, you're writing a story that's worth saddling up for, sister.